wave and walk with the person. Get out of the building. They're like, we're out. I said, perfect. And they're like, no. The kids are like, I told you this would work. So I was like, well, there's many other buildings. Let's go to another one. We go in. I asked the doorman, can I bring in 20 14-year-olds and calculate the square footage? She goes, no. Now I'm panicking. 20 minutes to teach this lesson, right? So I picked the next building, closer down there, all glass one, had a fancy camera on the outside. I said, students, wait right here. I'll be right back. I go in the building by myself. In my pocket, and I pull out some money. I said, good morning to the doorman. He said, good morning, how are you? Another way. I said, okay. And I said, what does it mean? He goes, you need a favor. I said, I do. I said, I need to have 27th graders calculate the square footage, right? They loved it. They were like, can we go in another building? I said, these people we're going back into is our school building. 10 minutes to get there, we had 5 minutes to get back. I said, can you run? They ran the whole time. Is that pretty cool? I'll tell you the rest of that story in a minute. Boxes, that's called bundle tubular construction. This building moves 18 inches each way on a rainy day. If you're up there on a windy, rainy day, guess what? The toilet bowl water swishes back and forth in the restrooms. Who's been up there? Anybody yet? You got to go up there. Stunning views. It's like an architectural tour of the building and the city and food. It's very good. Now, who designed that building? Dr. Kahn and Bruce Graham. They both worked for Skidmore, Owing & Merrill in the 1990s. Cigarette smoking, very popular. Even still today, you open a pack of cigarettes, you open it up on the corner, you cut it upside down, tap it on your finger, what comes out? 2 to 3 cigarettes. They started, we call it Sears over Willis. Willis bought the naming rights. They used to occupy the building the most. That was a British insurance company, and they actually insured the Titanic back in the day. Want to see when suction cups? He climbed, yeah, he started at 4 a.m. in the morning, finished at 3 in the afternoon. The city waited for him to get to the very top, and they greeted him with some beautiful silver bracelets called handcuffs. Yes, don't climb the buildings. Now, I gave this tour, and a lady jumped up in the middle of this tour, and she's like, all right, over here to your right, the Mercantile Exchange. Take a look at this building. Look at the very top. I sat in my seat, and I was just looking at all the people listening to the music. I mean, incredible. So if you have an opportunity, do go see water, the Vance damper system. Now this, they did tear a building down in Chicago to build it. Now when you build in Chicago, there's the L train again. And to our right, Starbucks. Where was the first Starbucks? Seattle. Who has the largest Starbucks roaster and reserve in the world today? Chicago. Have you guys all gone? Remember, that's where I got hit. Yep, now every time I see it. But they have a bar, and there's a 5 levels. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a bar on the 5th floor at the Starbucks Reserve. Little espresso martini. Sounds pretty good. Now over here, 1860s, none of these buildings. This is our bridge house. We had one matching, but they decided to saw it off and put it on one of these barges that had wood, and it caught on fire. True story. Yeah. It was so hot, it was on wood. To our right, beautiful. Who was supposed to be like, major tornado? When we're prepared, it always changes. Over here, look at this green glass building. It's 333 West Wacker Drive. Now this building voted the most beautiful building on the water. Look at the the back with the American flag, and it's set back, looks like an armchair. Benches that goes on this side are pretty unique. That's a residential building. What's the silver thing called? When you get off the boat now. And then here's some fun. These are little bars and restaurants. They're open from spring till fall, but these ones are open all year round. Just so you know. And then the building with the 2 5s, that style of architect is called brutalism. Very strong concrete lines. I call it the hashtag Chicago building, or the pound sign on a keyboard. And then to the left of it, see this dark gray granite, and then State Street. If you have an opportunity to walk down State Street, the original Chicago theater with the fun lights, and the original Marshall Fields is down there. Now Macy's, it's 9 levels, the beautiful Tiffany glass. The second oldest restaurant in Chicago, the Walnut Room is in there. Yeah. Very fun. And then we got a lot to talk about on our right. Take a look at the Jewelers building. You guys know this building from the movie Batman Transformers. We blew it up several times. Yes, but look in front. See the green terracotta with the gold on top of this other building here? That is real 24 karat gold up there. It's thinner than saran wrap. It's the Pendry Hotel, built in the 1920s. The Burnham brothers are the ones that designed it. Now, why did they design it like a champagne bottle? Yeah, green terracotta and gold at the top as a court. Well, built during Prohibition. Pendry Hotel, they serve sushi, rooftop bar. I've never been up there, but I hear it's very good service. And then let's go back to the Jewelers building once we get under the bridge. So see the small temples and the large tipier? Now, why do we call it the Jewelers building? Built in 1920s, French Beaux Arts. Where those small temples are, they had large, massive elevators. You would drive your vehicle with the Mather Tower. That was the tallest building in the world for only 10 days after that great Chicago fire. Every day they built skyscrapers. Now, this is the London Guarantee, another insurance company now owned by Hilton Hotels. This style in the front, French Beaux. Then let's come back to the left. I need to finish. This is a beautiful picture coming up. Look at this, the Wrigley Building, the Intercontinental, wait for the Dome Onion, and the Chicago Tribune. Now, how do you know the Wrigley Building today? For chewing gum. How we started? Building. My favorite Walgreens is there. You go to the second floor. They serve sushi in there too. Yeah. All right, let's stay left again. The Apple Store. Let's go back to the Apple Store. This building's unique, built in 2016. Looks like a laptop, but look at each piece of glass on that Apple Store. Handmade in Germany, shipped to Chicago. Each piece of glass, $250,000. Yes. Who has an Apple product? Myself included. How many of us are paying for that Apple Store in Chicago? Yes. They have a live DJ every Friday in that building. Window washing every 2 weeks. The granite from China. And they will fix anything on your phone or teach you anything you want to know. Yes. Now, they actually take our tour, right? Now you can go from building to building and not have to go out in the elements. There's dining, shopping all underneath there. Is that incredible? Now behind this building, you're going to see a building with a needle or the point. My students call it mechanical pencil building, but it's the Prudential building. To the left of it, you see the rectangular building, white with the dark vertical lines. That's the Aon building, formerly the Standard Oil building. That building is the 4th tallest building in Chicago, the rectangular one over there. Now, the architect used beautiful Italian marble on the outside of that building. Didn't actually build the building. So we've made some mistakes in Chicago. Now look at the Swiss Hotel. Notice it looks like a triangle. Who loves that style of art? Ship or front of the boat, the bow of a ship. He loved that nautical theme. But also people have a view. He doesn't block anybody's view, and it's structurally sound. Take a look at it again here. The Swiss Hotel, beautiful. Yes. And then what's interesting, look in between, you're going to see it, you already saw it. Look in between the Swiss Hotel and the Black James Hardy, the building in the back between them. See in the back, it looks like undulated balconies. Each balcony is different. Draw your eyes from the top, go down, it looks like a waterfall. It's called the Aqua Building. The architect, Jeannie Gang. Remember the tallest building, residential building in the world? Now, why did she make them undulated? Well, we have a bird issue in Chicago. Over 1 million birds die every year. They can't see these windows, the high rises, to prevent the birds from flying into it. Now, you guys all remember Lady Gaga. Beautiful building, right? And then over here, you're like, what's going up right here? That's a AI school. It's called the GEM School. It's an AI, artificial intelligence. It costs you $38,000 to send your kid there, K through 12. Isn't that wild? But if you can live in that building, I'm sure you can. Representing 100 years. In fact, if you walk to the end of the dock and then turn left, you can walk over here, take some pictures. Why is there a green light? That means go, you're clear. When it hits yellow, then red, a fountain 90 feet across shoots across. Now, last summer was the second hottest summer on record in Chicago. And I was like, maybe we should go through it. But I looked it up. Now, down below, these are 4-level luxury condominiums behind the trees. They have their own private elevator. 3 to 7 million to live down there. Up in the towers, 1 to 2 million. In the middle there, that's the indoor pool. Now, being a teacher and a tour guide, if I could live anywhere in the city and not pay the rent or the mortgage, Michigan, thank goodness, right? Now, in the 1800s, this was our drinking water, remember? We had the railroads, the stockyards. We would dump the carcasses in the river, the raw sewage, our trash. Remember, 1900, they blew up the dams, reversed the flow of the river. The river was actually frozen. They had to keep digging to unfreeze the river deep enough. And then they reversed the flow. It took 10 days. In 10 days, we were cleaned up. Chicago, get excited. We got clean water. St. Louis was like, oh, no, you don't. You just sent all your polluted waters. Look at the beautiful view of the lighthouse. See the sun hitting it? It's out. Now, fireworks. Remember I told you fireworks at 9 o'clock? Where can you catch them? You don't need to go to Navy Pier. Not this bridge, the other bridge, Columbus Bridge. So from Michigan Avenue, one bridge down, Columbus Bridge, 9 o'clock, you'll get a beautiful view of the fireworks. You can bring a roadie to go. They won't even know. Okay? We'll wave at you. We'll be on the boat tonight. Beautiful. Now, the last thing I got to teach you about Chicago, you've seen our flag, right? The 4 red stars, blue stripes on our city flag. We love our city flag. Everything has that city flag on it. Probably the most popular tattoo of locals in Chicago, but they don't know what the 4 stars mean. The name of our boat, Fort Dearborn, was the first military base. It was where DuSable, Michigan Avenue Bridge. The second, we had that Great Chicago Fire. The 3rd star, we had that World's Fair, 1893. And then we had the fair again, 1933. So it's a 4F.